Well, as I hinted earlier on, we have a reading, don't we, that includes Mary and Joseph, but we're going to have our focus on Joseph this morning. Joseph Gets the Message is the title for this morning. But this is St. Paul's, and therefore we had to start with a quiz. This quiz was added rather last minute, I have to add. But some famous Josephs, or Joes, for you to guess. Now, I'm aware that there'll be pictures on the screen, therefore there are some who might struggle to see those, so I'll give some clues as the pictures come up. So, the first Joseph is a famous, maybe not always for the best reasons, 20th century Joseph. Joseph Stalin. Everyone was on that straight away, weren't they? Did you get him? Those? No? Okay, no. The front there, haven't got a clue. Who are we talking about? Famous Joseph, leader of the USSR, particularly in the Second World War, also known for some pretty awful things that happened there. So moving on to another Joseph, and maybe the young people might have a chance with this one. A recent, I won't give away this. Anyone know who that might be down the front? Joe Biden, a recent president. Some like him, some didn't like him, as we know well. Joe Biden. Okay, so these famous Josephs. Oh, yes. Now I'm going to put this guy up and just see if anyone can get him, and then I'll give a clue, which might also help. Anyone know who this is? We've got some muttering. I'm going to give you a clue. He needed some help from his friends. Joe Cocker. Indeed. Yes, Joe Cocker. I'm sure most of you in this congregation remember him, don't you? Who did I put on next? Here we go. I'll say that he's an England football player. Oh, straight on it here. Joe Cole. Did anyone else get that? Yeah, okay. Well, you're doing quite well, you lot. I'm quite impressed. Okay, one that I was hoping, again, some of the youngsters might get. Maybe not from this season. I can't remember if it was last season or the season before. Joe Suggs, who was a YouTuber. Yeah, YouTuber. And influencer. I think most YouTubers try and be influencers. Of course, was in Strictly. Was it last season? 2 years ago. It's old news, this Joseph. But anyway. But there are lots of Josephs out there that get the limelight, don't they? In our society. Lots of Josephs that have got the limelight. But I feel that often it's the case that our Joseph doesn't get the limelight. Maybe there's good reason for that. But I think this Joseph was a fairly phenomenal guy. I love this picture. This was the Joseph that taught Jesus his craft as a carpenter, perhaps some stonemasonry as well. It would have been the Joseph that would help Jesus to read, perhaps, and write. It's the Joseph that was there that picked up a baby when it was crying. But this Joseph often, almost always, is portrayed with Mary. Oh, okay, there's good reasons for that as well. Whether in forms of art, on TV, this is taken from The Chosen, or in stained glass windows. Even for us, on St. Paul's Green. We have Joseph with Mary and some other characters in there as well, including a door frame. But actually, this nativity story rather hangs or hung on Joseph's actions. Joseph, because of course, said he wanted Mary stoned for what he might have thought she had done. But this was a good man. This was a man who decided to separate quietly, not make a fuss. He obviously really cared for Mary. But this story hung on his decision. He must have been a pretty dark time for Joseph. It must have been tough. All these sort of things lined up, marriage to come, a life together that seemed to be scrapped and washed away. It must have been pretty dark. But what we know about God is that God interrupts the darkness. Joseph, the son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife. God interrupted in the darkness. And when Joseph woke up, he did what the angel of the Lord had commanded him, and took Mary home as his wife. The interesting thing about Joseph is, I think, out of the nativity characters, really, he is most like us. How many of us have found ourselves in dark times? And that's when God has stepped in. I think quite a few of us could put up our hands then. God interrupts the darkness. That's the story that's going on here. And God is in the darkness too. Doesn't always feel like it, but he is there. At the beginning of Advent, I managed to go to half of a quiet day that was being run by Bishop Karen down at the Abbey. And speaking was Bishop Robert Atwell. He was the Bishop of Exeter until sort of fairly recently. And his talk was entitled God of the Darkness. It was really interesting. And we reflected on the fact that darkness is needed for life. Much of all that happens. Nature relies on it being dark as well as light. But he particularly reflected on one bit that really struck me. He was talking about the fact he'd visited an exhibition of icons, Russian Orthodox icons. And he was looking at one of them, and it was entitled The Final Words of Judgment of Jesus. We often think of judgment, don't we? You think, it's a very dark sort of thing to think about, God's judgment. And there was a Bible verse there. And he sort of wondered what it might be, Matthew 25, some words from Revelation or whatever, these sort of things that come to mind when we think about words of judgment. But no, it was Matthew 11:28. Jesus' last words of judgment. Matthew 11:28. And he admitted, he said, I couldn't work out what that was. I had to go home and look it up. Couldn't remember what these final words of Jesus' words of judgment were that were in this icon. Well, Matthew 11:28 is this. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Even in the darkness that we perceive of judgment, Jesus interrupts and gives us light and hope. Wherever you are at the moment, you may be in a place of joy, you may be in a place of darkness. Know that Jesus comes and interrupts and brings light and hope. We're going to watch a poem, a spoken word, reflecting on that.
At the beginning of time, God had an idea. Let there be light. And light formed here. Light burst into life, life that shone in the dark. A light for all was the plan at the start. It wasn't long before the plan took a turn and darkness crept over the face of the earth. Through choices our people repeat and repeat, it seemed that the light had accepted defeat. But God had an idea at the beginning of time. The light is for all, and all people are mine. The light God promised to the people he loved, it was going to prevail. It was more than enough. Years after the darkness across earth had spread, messengers told of what lay ahead. Messengers who loved the light brought truth that told it would be all right. Light will dawn to those living in the dark. It will bring joy and peace to our hearts. The moment arrived for God's plan to unfold. A warrior of light to a young woman told that the light would be planted as a seed in her womb. An ordinary girl carried the end to the gloom. As the light dawned, a star shone bright, a sign of the wonder and beauty of that night. Warriors of light shouted praises of "Hark! The light is here to illuminate the dark." The light has been planted. It is here to stay. Nothing will ever take it away. It will shine brighter than ever before. The light of Emmanuel, who loves us all. At the end of time, God's plan will complete. The light of the world, all people will meet. All people will worship Emmanuel the King. The light that brings life to everyone and everything.
So God, who is with us, Emmanuel, interrupted the darkness that Joseph found himself in. And he continues to interrupt the darkness today. Continues to bring hope, peace, and his love. We saw something of that when the Spirit moves. We saw something of that yesterday and last Sunday. And he does so for you and for me.